by knowing your genes, we can say, okay, there are two disease, like Zico is super healthy, but he has two problems. Disease 1, disease 2, much higher risk. Everyone has some risk, right? Or most people. Then we can target your prevention plans towards that.
Welcome to another episode of the Matter Over Mind Experience. I'm your host, master trainer, and weight management expert, Narado Zico Powell. I have Joe Bhakti on the show today. He's the CEO and founder of QuantGene. I love their mission. So their mission is to extend lifespan by a decade within a decade. Isn't that just a brain twister within itself? I'm letting him explain all that to you, right? But you know what we're going to talk about today. Living longer, longevity, yeah, of course. We're going to talk about preventative medicine, genomic medicine, which this is completely new to me, and so much more. And of course, I have a hack of the episode for you, right? Yes, it's going to be what's the next step for genomic medicine. So yes, we're going to talk about longevity. So hang on to your seats and get ready for this. And with that being said, Joe, welcome to the show.
Zico, it's so good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, man. Before that, tell my audience about yourself.
So I founded QuantGene in 2015 at UC Berkeley with the mission that you just mentioned, to extend the healthy human lifespan by 10 years within 10 years. And, I grew up in a very medical family with surrounded by basically medical researchers, my mom, my dad, my brother. And I myself, I was super interested in this topic for a very long time. I'm an economist by trade, so I'm the black sheep of the family. I said, this is all great medicine, and I love all the new technology and genomics and precision medicine, but who pays for it? Someone has to pay for all that stuff. So that's why I was interested in economics. How do systems work, and how do we bring health to everyone effectively? How do we finance the innovation? So we started the company back then, 2015. And the thesis is very simple. Every year, 1 million Americans die of preventable causes. That's a third of all deaths. And when you look at the age group 35 to 65, which is a little bit our focus, right? So kind of young, middle-aged, right? It's even higher, right? The percentage of people who die preventable deaths is over 50% in that age group. And what does it mean? Cancer means cardiovascular disease, stroke and heart disease. It means diabetes, kidney and liver diseases. And so it's all about what is prevention and how do we stop that from happening? That's just very bad. And I always give this example because numbers are kind of my thing. So I try to make them interesting. When you say that's the cause of death, in that time span from 35 to 65, your risk of death is 13%. So 13% of all people die in that age group, in that span. And that's not trivial. Like, to give you an example, that's like you have a plane and you want to travel in that plane. And someone tells you, if you go into that plane, every 8th time that plane crashes. Would you go into that plane? I don't know. I would maybe not go into that plane. That's too many every 8th. And that's literally your life and my life. Our lives from 35 to 65, your chance of dying is 1 in 8 and over this span. And so it's all about how do we stop this and how do we bring that number down, right? So you can go into that plane and say only every 20th or 30th plane crashes, still a little irritating, but better than every 8th. And it comes down to these two big pillars. One that you are very focused on, that's super important. Nutrition, exercise, keeping your body healthy, getting in shape, not just to look good, but to feel good and be healthy. But then there's a second piece to the equation. And that second piece is precision prevention, which means even if you're in perfect shape, you can still get cancer. We know that. It's impossible to just prevent cancer, right? You might get it. Same with stroke and heart disease. You can reduce the risk, you might still get it. And what most people don't know is if you detect that early, that is your best shot. If you detect cancer at stage 1, you still, in most cases, have 90 to 99% chance of survival. And at late stage, it's very bad.
So when you say preventative measures or preventative diseases or causes, right? What are you trying to, what are you really hinting at there? Are you saying that it's because of lifestyle choices that could have prevented these, or early detection, or what are you thinking about there?
So it's basically these two measures you can do, and we focus on the second. You focus on the first. The first one is eat healthy, sleep well, get in shape. So you minimize the probability you're getting these diseases. We focus on the second piece. If you get them, because you're still at very high risk of getting something, how do you detect it early? How can you provide a system of new medicine around people that systematically screens and detects diseases continuously over these 30 years, from 35 to 65?
So then because a lot of people, like, I grew up in Jamaica, right? And men in Jamaica don't go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yes.
there's a lot of reasons why, we die off early, is because we don't find out that we have something until it's too late. So how do you address that issue in your practice?
Exactly. And you nailed it, not just in Jamaica, also in America, right? So like, to give you another statistic, you can tell I like numbers. 8% of Americans get the preventative screenings they're supposed to get. So 92% of everyone, it's not even poor, rich, whatever, educate. No, 90% of everyone is missing standard of care guideline recommended screenings, because it's so confusing. No one even knows. The primary care docs don't know. They overlook stuff. They don't ask the right questions. It's too much. And so what we invented with this system, Serenity, we call it Serenity at getserenity.life, is a system on the higher end where we make sure you subscribe, right? Become an annual member, and you get your care buddy. Like, you basically get a dedicated person and an intelligence system that watches over you and sees everything, right? So it's no Zico. We are missing data points, right? You didn't answer a few questions. We don't know about your family history. Did someone have cancer in your family? Did someone have a stroke? Did someone have neurodegenerative, like Alzheimer, Parkinson? All these questions get taken in once, and then once a year in case something changes. So it's baseline. So we understand, well, Zico is this specific risk profile. Maybe you're very good in cancer, right? Risk, but maybe you have a problem with cholesterol, something. So, okay, if that's the case, you need different screenings. You need to have more frequent screenings for heart or cardiovascular, for example, or for whatever it is. And then on top of that, so we make sure nothing gets overlooked, and you have someone who actually understands this stuff and solely focuses on keeping you healthy. It's not a conventional doctor. It's someone who's like, no, we want you to be healthy. And then we do a lot of things to keep you healthy. Whereas a normal doctor says, well, what do you want, Zico? You're healthy, go home. Like, come back when you're sick. But that's a bad idea. You want doctors to say, no, come to me when you're healthy. I keep you there. And then on top of that, we also apply very advanced precision medicine, like full body MRI, but most importantly, new genomics for multi-cancer detection in the blood. So we can make sure we detect all these diseases at the earliest possible stage through an annual checkup.
So because you keep saying, like, not a normal doctor. So in my head, I'm thinking like traditional Western medicine doctor versus, let's say, an Eastern or a what's the word I'm thinking? Naturopathic doctor. Those are two things that come to my head. So the healthcare professionals that work with you, do they fall within any one of those scopes?
I always describe them as a third type. So we have Eastern, Western, whatever you want to call it, like people who went to med school and stick to the med school plan, right? And then we have holistic doctors. But there's a third type of doctor that normally also goes through med school, but understands, okay, there's an issue here, and then turns into a precision medicine doctor. So these are doctors who are focused solely or mostly on prevention, using the most advanced technologies to be basically big data people. So we kind of invented that. I mean, these are normally MDs who say, well, I don't want to wait until everyone is sick and then do stuff that might not help. How do I apply technology to see everything much earlier? And so these are our doctors. They have primary care. They come out of Kaiser Permanente or One Medical and places like that, but say, you know what, I want to do something better. What can I do? And we are open to both sides. We respect, of course, conventional medicine. This is very important in many areas, but we deeply respect functional medicine and naturopathic medicine. That all plays along, but it's more like a focus. What are we focused on? We use maximum amounts of data to detect stuff that's in your body when no one can see it. So we can detect diseases much earlier.
I have a lot of friends and colleagues who are naturopathic doctors, some Western medicine doctors, because I don't, contrary to popular belief, I don't hate them, right? But I do believe that we need both. I definitely do believe we need both. I think for daily maintenance, we need to be a more naturopathic, or like you were saying, more for precision type of doctor, which is the third type, which that term is also new to me. So but let's say if I'm in an emergency, you may need a more conventional Western medicine style doctor. So I do believe that there is space for both, right? But the problem what I come across living in the US, or just say in the Western side of the world, because I don't want to beat up on America all the time, is that even with naturopathic doctor, and my friends tell me this, people still kind of use them as traditional doctors, meaning that they don't come to them for prevention. They come to them once they've tried everything else, and they're like, okay, now let me try a naturopathic doctor. But by the time you get to that, but that's not really what naturopathic medicine is really designed for, or the naturopathic approach, right? It sounds to me, and tell me if I'm wrong, Joe, but it sounds to me it's closer to a precision doctor where it should be prevention. You look at what your risks are, what are the steps we can take to get somewhere, and if something tends to happen, or you get something in that process, that we can detect it early and we can work on it. And there are different ways, because I'm assuming, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, you may at times use maybe conventional medicine, but there may be times you use lifestyle changes, fasting, epigenetics is what we call it. Does that sound anywhere in the ballpark?
Yes. And I think, let me put it like this. We are fully for both doctor types you mentioned, but what is a precision medicine doctor? So what is the problem with conventional medicine? What do we see as a problem? We see as a problem that conventional medicine is simply way, way, way too late and way, way, way too low resolution, right? If they detect cancer, it's because, oh, you have yellow eyes, your pancreas might be messed up. It's like, well, yeah, but if that's cancer, that's a late stage pancreatic cancer. You can't, I mean, you have a big problem. The naturopathic doctors, they do a lot of things right, but their problem is similar to that. Like, where is the precision, right? Can they detect the cancer early stage? No, like, very difficult. So what is missing here is taking advanced genomics and imaging and other and data technologies to the next level and say, can we increase on a very straightforward scientific level, can we increase the amount of data by 1 million times or 1 billion times? Because we live in 2023. Why would we use tests that were invented in 1928? Like, okay, something happened in between. So, and that's literally what it is. If we, look at prostate cancer, PSA test, that's standard of care. You use a PSA test, there's one marker in there, prostate specific antigen. It measures like something that sometimes is elevated with prostate cancer. One protein, one number. You get literally one number out of the machine, which is like a fluorescent intensity. When we do a blood sample on you, we literally count individual DNA molecules, fragments. We get 10 billion individual reads out of a blood sample. So when I say billions of times, I'm not kidding. It's not a metaphor. We literally mathematically get 10 billion times more data out of one blood sample.
It's like I'm hearing this when economics meets the I guess you say the healthcare field. I want to say the medical field. I want to say the healthcare field. That's kind of what it sounds like to me. By the way, Joe, to let you know, I also majored in economics at the University of Central Florida before I got into the health field.
Oh, so, nice. He's another economist.
I know. I didn't know that about you. That's pretty interesting. But so then let's talk about economics then, right? Because we know that there's a lot of stuff that we need to fix in today's. I mean, you just basically just talked about it anyway. Yeah. But a lot of times we say that companies don't want to detect you early, or sometimes people will go as far as say keep you alive because it's more expensive, right? So why do you think though that preventative or precision medicine is the economic shift that we actually need?
So economics, once you get it, it's kind of very straightforward, right? The free market system or even political systems. The big problem, in my opinion, in medicine is that we are all kind of immature. We have this built-in immaturity in us where we want someone to take care of us. That's a big instinct in medicine. You say like, you know what? I don't want to pay for my own stuff because it scares me. What if I get really sick? I want the government or an insurance to pay for everything because it makes me feel good. And the problem is that sounds great, but we need to understand how humans and human organizations work. If you, the only person who truly cares about you, besides your mom, maybe your dad, is yourself. And you are the best steward of your health, and you're the best steward of your money. Now, because we all have this tendency to want to outsource this, because we have this baby instinct, like, oh God, but if I'm sick, I wish someone else would take care of me. Well, great, congratulations. But if that someone else is a faceless like government agency, or like, I wouldn't even say worse, but equally bad, like a corporation that sits there with a CEO who says, you know, my job is to get a bonus next quarter, not to save your life. So neither the government bureaucrat nor the CEO or chief revenue officer of United Healthcare like truly cares too much about your life, and everyone knows that, right? They have other problems. If you're in the Biden administration, oh, what if Trump gets president? How do I make sure I'm saving my butt, right? That's going on in the head in Medicare. It's not that someone sits there, oh, I wish I could figure out how to save Zico. It's like, that's not their problem. But these people then decide what you get. And when they look at preventative care expenses, for example, what we bring together here at Serenity to keep people really safe, and then cost, let's say, $3,000 or something a year, what we recommend, right? They say, you're nuts. We're not going to pay this for all Americans. We can't. We don't want to. We don't see the benefit. And if we tell them, well, the benefit is they live longer, you know, that doesn't even really register on the motivation matrix. It's not like a topic.
Right. Oh, so, and, you know, so then you're right, though. I get you there. And, you know, honestly, I should say, the fact that we say the goal is to live longer and it doesn't really register, that's really a big issue.
It's a big issue, yeah.
So that's a big issue. So then my follow-up question to that would be, why then should we say, okay, people should live longer and that should benefit us economically? Why do you think so?
Well, there are always two ways of looking at problems like that. One is like systemically, like, why would the system care? Why is it good for all of us? And I can go on and on why this is good for us, right? You don't want to lose your best people or any people. It's like we have to protect human life, and we are building up the knowledge. For example, you have a great business and knowledge about what you're doing. If you die, well, it's gone. Then there's a problem. What about all your listeners, all your customers, your clients? Like, dying is just a bad thing in general. But guess what? What I learned the hard way is you need to try to find people who truly care. And I tell you one thing, no one truly cares about all of us. Because why? We have other problems. What we care about is us, right? When I have a discussion with Zico, and it's like, Zico, listen, here's why it's so important, why humanity should extend the lifespan by 10 years. You're interested in it. It's like, yeah, okay, let's discuss. But if I say, Zico, why don't we just make sure you're not going to die next week? I tell you, you will pay way more attention. Because it's like, well, I don't want to die. Like, that's actually very top of mind. Whereas a discussion, is it better to extend for all humans 10 years or 11 years? You're saying like, well, maybe I can discuss this on Sunday. It's not the top priority for me. So that's why I try to look at systems that way and say, we need to go to the people who truly care. And I tell you who truly cares about living longer, the people who live longer, which is our clients. It's like, do you want to protect your life? Then no one asks, oh, is that good or not? It's like, no, I get it. I don't want to die.
Yo, you know, I plan to live forever. Did everybody know? You know that? Well, I'm 40 years old, right? So I'm going from I know the Jay-Z version of the song, but it's like Forever Young. I know there's an original version out there, but I don't know who sings it. But there's like Forever Young. So that's me. I'm forever young. I'm going to live forever. And, you know, until God decides that, you know, it's time for me to go. But so my clients, don't worry, your boy will be around for you. Don't worry at all. I'll take care of you, your grandkids, and your great grandkids. But yeah, but truly, it really is. I think the shift is finding people who actually care. And part of my business, and of course, for sure, it's part of your business, and you talk about the preventative piece, is the connection with that person. Because when you work with someone for a long time, you develop a relationship with that person, and that connection makes you care even more. Versus how often do you really see your doctor, right? And if you're seeing your doctor once a week, then you might have other issues, right? So,
but if it's a precision service like ours, prevention service, the whole point is we want to see you, we want to be in touch. So you get like basically a text messaging platform, you have your own doctors and care buddies, but it's very targeted towards, we don't want to endlessly have conversations if that's not necessary, but we make sure very precisely, right? In 3 months, we're going to reach out like, Zico, it's 3 months. We need this one data point from you. Can you just answer one question? And we make sure that's intent, so we never lose track, right? So that's the key.
So what I'm hearing is I need to subscribe because I'm trying to live forever. So we got to get on this, man. Yeah, we got to get on this. We really, really do. And talking about that, I'm gonna take a break in the podcast because I gotta talk about one of my favorite companies. I gotta talk about Heal. Well, the company is called the Amino Code, but I'm talking about Heal, which is one of my favorite products, right? Their products is 100% science-backed, based on essential amino acid technology. You see, Heal is one of my favorites because it was designed to reduce recovery times and improve physical function by accelerating muscle repair while helping you to maintain a healthy inflammatory response. I always mess up at some point when I'm doing this part, right? But yes, it's true because we talk about inflammation. We can't avoid inflammation. In fact, I train 6 days a week, sometimes 7 because I'm crazy in the brain and I'm creating inflammation. So Heal helps me to respond to that, right? Heal, it has a really good blend of essential aminos, but what makes it brilliant? A whey protein concentrate and creatine in that specific blend that gives you that. In fact, what I do is I use it as an intro workout, right? So like doing my workout, remember like 40, 45 minutes in, I drink Heal with, of course, the blend that I mentioned, which helps me to bang through my workouts and respond better. I'm telling you, add that to your routine, your protocol, you're gonna feel a difference. I have friends who use it now who come to me and say, man, I don't know where this has been my entire life. Like now that I use it, I really feel a difference and recover better. One of my friends, and I'm not saying to do this for this reason, but I'm just gonna mention it because she did tell this to me, that she went on a trip. And on the trip, she was drinking a lot. And you said she brought her Heal and her Perform, by the way, which is also made from Amino. And she told me, and again, a caveat, not saying to use it for this reason, but it's just a funny story. She told me that when she did not get a hangover on the entire trip because she was constantly drinking Heal and Perform, right? But you're feeding your body essential aminos, you're feeding your body creatine, which your body really needs to help you to respond to inflammation and heal better. That's really where the focus is supposed to be, right? But anyway, I digress a little bit. So let me tell you about these clinical trials, right? Because there's a trial where they tried 1 and 2 scoop of Heal compared to high quality whey protein. And the net bounds between whole protein synthesis were measured. And the response to Heal was found to be 3 times larger than whey protein on a gram-to-gram basis. 3 times larger. I mean, that's huge, right? Think about extending your lifespan by 3 times. I mean, I'm on a mission to do that. So I guess I need to subscribe to Joe's quant gene over here, right, to get me there. But anyway, I'm just being the regular Zico that I am. So the website is aminoco.com/Zico Health. Not only is it the product's fantastic, but it gives you 30% off all the amino-based products. And because, I try to be a nice guy, I will make sure that the website is in the description of the episode. And with that being said, on to the next question, everybody. So I kind of know what the answer is going to be here, but I really want you to answer this question. Why should genomics should be standard care?
Well, genomics is a very new field, right? Because 7 or 5 years ago, what we do right now would have cost, much more, 10 times more, $20,000, $30,000. So this is a massive progress, and making it more affordable makes it more accessible. So the benefit of genomics is twofold, because genomics does actually two different things. One is conventional genomics, where we look at your existing genes and we understand what your risk profile is. Now that's very, very important, because if we run all your genes, for example, and identify variants, we have tremendous, like also millions of pages of scientific publications on genomics. We see, oh, Zico has variant A and variant B. And that puts Zico at elevated, let's say 5x elevated lung cancer risk completely randomly, right? You didn't know that. That changes statistically how often you need to get screened to minimize your risk of having late stage cancer. So normally you would never get screened, because there is no screening for lung cancer for non-smokers, right? So it's like, well, you don't get screened. So if you ever get lung cancer, you will be detected at late stage, very likely. That's not good. That brings down your chance of survival below 10%. If it's early stage, you're still above 70%. So it's a big difference. That actually extends your life by. And by knowing your genes, we can say, okay, there are two diseases, like Zico is super healthy, but he has two problems. Disease 1, disease 2, much higher risk. Everyone has some risk, right? Or most people. Then we can target your prevention plans towards that. And the challenge here is most people are not that familiar or good with statistics. They just want to, do I die or do I not die? It's like, well, unfortunately, it's statistics, but statistics add up over time. They become very reliable. And so we can adjust the entire strategy to that. And that's what Serenity does. Now, the second piece of genomics, which is very new, where OneGene is one of the leaders in the field, it can also detect active cancers in the body by taking a look at the blood sample and identifying trace signals of cancer with single molecule precision. So we can basically find a single molecule piece, fragment of a tumor cell, and that changes the game in cancer detection. So on top of your risk profile is also detecting actual cancer with an incredible accuracy.
So what I really love from what I'm hearing, I mean, we're talking about early detection, but not just early detection, but we're first looking at the risk of what could happen, which can then lead to early detection. And in early detection, just statistically speaking, is going to increase your probability, because you're right. If you have stage 3 cancer versus stage 1 cancer, I mean, that's completely two different ends of the spectrum, right? Which is where conventional medicine usually gets. Okay, but they get, it's like my gripe with diabetes, right? People say, have come to me and said, you know, my doctor told me I have diabetes. They have me on insulin, blah, blah, blah. I said to them, you were not diabetic the day you walked into your doctor's office. You were insulin resistant, or you had insulin resistance. It led into pre-diabetes. Then it forwarded to type 2 diabetes. That takes a long time, people.
You're 100% right, Zico. That's exactly what we also check, right? We check on all these things, because that, like A1C testing. Did you ever test your blood sugar, like 3 months average, or not? Most people are like, no, my doctor said it's not necessary. Like, how do you know it's not necessary? It's like about early detection.
Right. And you know what, and I'm speaking specifically about insulin resistance here, because in my opinion, it's just one way. This is just one way. And I'm saying it's the only way, and don't take my word as Bible here. But most people who are overweight, if not everybody who's overweight, at least has insulin resistance, just by understanding how the human body works, because insulin is a storage hormone. So to store that excess glycogen and to store that body fat, you have to use insulin to do that. So if you're 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds overweight, you're more likely insulin resistant, which we are on your way to being pre-diabetic or having type 2 diabetes, right? So that's just one thing to just look at. Instead, when you walk into the doctor's office and you're like, oh, now the doctors say I have type 2 diabetes and they put me on this whatever insulin or whatever it is, long lasting or whatever the case may be. But again, you didn't walk into the office with type 2 diabetes. You probably walked in with it, but you had it prior before then. And there are many things that built up to that point. So that's just one of the examples I wanted to get at there.
And you're totally right about this. Like, it goes across all chronic disease categories, all the stuff that actually kills you, diabetes, right? Cardiovascular, liver and kidney disease, and of course, cancer. For all of them, the same thing is true. Early detection saves your life. And for diabetes, what does early detection mean? You need to know that you're pre-diabetic, and you're right. Like, okay, if you're obese or even significantly overweight, you're on track of getting something bad, so don't do it. But on top of it, you can do diagnostics and just do the test. That's a $27 test. Like, what's even the problem? And there is no big downside in false positives on an A1C test, right? So we recommend do this stuff annually, and then you know more.
Joe, I've worn a my brain's drawing a blank right now. What's it to test that diabetes glucose monitor, continuous glucose monitor? I've worn one myself because I wanted to understand what my body does on a daily basis when I'm fasting, when I'm eating, how my body responds to food, so on and so forth. NutriSense is my favorite brand. I absolutely love them. Right. So shout out to NutriSense. You just got a free ad from your boy Zeke over here, right? And I remember when I first said to someone, that I was gonna wear it. And he's like, "Do you have diabetes?" I said, "No." He said, "Why are you wasting your time?" I said, "See, that's the problem. You want to wait until something happens, right? Instead of trying to see how you could possibly prevent something from happening, right? Because I believe that especially people who have insulin resistance, if they were to wear a CGM, they can really, but they will start to understand how their body responds to food, which can also help with reversing that issue so they don't become pre-diabetic or diabetes. Now, I know I'm hounding down a lot on diabetes because that's where a lot of my focus is, because it's weight management. But like you said, when it comes to thyroid issues, right? Hypothyroidism or hyperthyroidism, we also got to consider those. There are a lot of ways that early detection can help. Cardiovascular diseases, early detection can help with all those as well. And then what I like about what you're saying with the precision medicine is because you kind of combine both along with early detection. So then it's not just about, trying to detect something, but there may be some epigenetic factors like lifestyle changes involved. Which leads me to my next question, actually, Joe. Because when we talk about epigenetics, I'm sure you know what it is. My audience knows what it is. It's lifestyle changes. How much of that is involved in your practice?
So, of course, in genomics, epigenetics and epigenomics is very important. So technically what we are talking about are kind of methylation islands on the DNA, right? Where the C's on the DNA are methylated. And what that does is it can switch genes on and off, to put it like simple. And that is for cell differentiation. So different, body, like tissue organ types have basically different profiles, but also not just lifestyle changes, but generally changes to your metabolism and when you work out and all of these things. Basically, your cells need to start behaving differently, right? Produce more insulin, produce less insulin for the pancreas, for beta cells and stuff like that. So all that happens some through a mechanism, and often in these mechanisms, the epigenetics play an important role. And then there are all these more complex effects, right? That you can have a certain epigenetic profile that just says, oh, Zico in general is more switched on with this and that. And, and so in our practice, or in our service and Serenity solution, it's more like an indirect thing. So we can measure some of these things, but they're still like clinical issues, right? And really tying it back to some medical implications. We will add it in a very significant way next year in the cancer detection field. So methylation is also a piece of cancer detection. But in general, it comes down to lifestyle changes, right? So what does a preventative care plan look like with Serenity once we have all the data? Normally, it's in nearly all instances, it has a very strong lifestyle component to it. Like, okay, we need to lose weight, we need to put you on a certain diet, we need to exercise more, we need to hit these targets, and then next year we see what the improvements look like, right, in the annual big screening. So I think that's how it works.
So AKA, listen to your boy over here. I'm telling you. And with that being said, I have one more question for you, Joe, before you get out of here, because I've been hammering you all day with these questions here. How can my audience learn more about your work? How can they maybe subscribe, or whatever, what you call it? I'm not sure.
So go to getserenity.live. That should be easy. And there you can see all about it. And we can also put a link in your description if you want, so people can find it. You can find me on joebhakdi.com, J-O and then BHAKDI.com. That's my personal website. I'm starting also a YouTube channel next week. Save Your Life with Joe. And Zico, I can give you more info on that. And in the YouTube channel, we are going to discuss, and you will find that on my website end of this week. Yeah, follow me there, and we are discussing all these things, like how can you stay alive and healthy and not die.
That's right. That's what we're working on. I mean, you might start with 10 years and next thing you know, it's 100 years. Like, who knows, right? Yeah. I have from time to time, like longevity, doctors who focus on longevity, who come on here and have discussions. And right now it's like, it feels so open that there's so much we don't know and so much that we're still learning, right? So if we think about longevity and when you talk about longevity, it's not just about living longer, but just feeling like amazing while you're doing it. It's like this, the best of both worlds. But with that being said, though, let's wrap up, get out of here. Of course, I'll make the show notes are going to be zikahealth.com/getserenity, and the website will be in the show notes as well. And the last I'm going to say is that the show notes will also be in the description of the episode. I mean, that's a mouthful. Try saying all that. That being said, we're out for the day, everyone.